class, and in this lesson we look at marriage, and we shall look at marriage in a traditional setup and in a Christian setup. But to begin with, what is marriage? Meaning of marriage. Meaning. Marriage is actually an agreement between a man and a woman that they have a lasting relationship and therefore live together in a lasting relationship and live together as a husband and wife. And therefore, marriage is a social affair. Marriage is a social affair whereby we have an agreement. It is actually an agreement between a man and a woman, between a man and a woman who decide to have a lasting relationship as husband and wife. I repeat, it is an agreement, and therefore when one is forced into marriage, it ceases being a marriage. It must be an agreement between the two, the husband and the wife, and the relationship is lasting. It should be a lasting relationship, and therefore we have said it's a social affair. The intention then of marriage is to actually establish a permanent relationship between a husband and wife. Now, why do people marry? Why should people actually get into such kind of an agreement? Why do people enter into such kind of agreements, or why should they marry? One, to express mutual love and comfort. You want to express mutual love and comfort, and therefore it must be between people who actually have some feelings towards each other. Love, to procreate and bring up children, to procreate and bring up children. Procreate and bring up children. 3, to enhance the unity of the couple and families involved. To enhance the unity of the couple, and families involved. Also, to promote one's social status. You climb in the status once you get married. To promote the social status. To promote the social status to both of them, both husband and wife, get their status promoted. And not finally, also to provide happiness. To provide happiness, how? When one gets the fulfillment through sexual union. Fulfillment through sexual union. And also, to provide happiness, that is through fulfillment of sexual union. We can separate this into two. To just provide happiness to the husband and wife because they are married, and of course they will get other satisfactions, and finally to get sexual fulfillment. For sexual fulfillment. So in every society, of course, marriage receives a public recognition. The public must recognize that actually people are married. And that's why age limits has been given by many governments. Most governments have actually given an age limit of 18 years for ones to actually be of age to enter into such an agreement. Now, marriage relationship should be permanent. Why? Why should marriage relationship be permanent? Why permanent? Why not try and then after some time you try elsewhere? Why should it be permanent? One, for security, especially of the children, security of children, wife and husband, for security of all of them, then it should be permanent. So it should be permanent for the security of children, wife, and even the husband. Now, there are many forms of marriages in Kenya, and we shall look at them later. Traditional African understanding of marriage. Traditional African understanding of marriage. Traditional understanding of marriage. How did the Africans, or how do Africans understand the concept of marriage? Now, in a traditional setup, marriage was customary. Marriage is referred to as a customary marriage. Customary marriage. It's commonly referred to as customary marriage because it's done under the customs of the tradition. Now, it is a complete affair. Marriage in an African traditional setup is a complete affair. And when we talk of it being complete affair, it's not only a social affair. Remember, we called it a social affair, but in an 80 years, it's not just a social affair, but also an economic and religious affair. It's a social, economic, and religious affair. Why is it social, economic, and religious affair? It is looked at as a point where all living and the dead meet. All members of the community meet. It is actually in marriage. It is in marriage. It's in marriage that all members of the community meet. And when we talk of all members of the community, we are including the yet to be born and even the dead. That is, the dead, the living, and those yet to be born. They meet in marriage. How? Because it is in marriage that the yet to be born will be born. It is in marriage that the living will meet, because they are those related to those who are married, they will also meet. And it is in marriage that the dead will actually be reborn. And therefore, it is actually in this institution that all in the community meet. It is therefore a duty in an 80 years. Marriage is a duty. Marriage is a duty. What do we mean when we call it a duty? It was the duty of all in an 80 years to actually get married. And therefore, whoever failed to get married was treated as an outcast. Those who refused to get married, remember we have said it was the duty of everybody. So long as they are of age, they had to get married. Refusal to get married, it meant that one was going against the customs of the tradition. So one who refused to get married, therefore, was treated as an outcast. And being an outcast means that the society also rejected the person. Why? Because by refusing to live according to the customs of the society, he had also, or she had also rejected the society. Therefore, the society rejects him and he becomes an outcast. Now, marriage was carried out in order to procreate. Marriage and for procreation. Let us look at marriage and procreation. So in most cases in an African setup, marriage was meant for procreation. Why should it be looked at as if it was only a source of procreation. Therefore, this is now showing us how important children were in a marriage. It is actually telling us that children are very important in a marriage. Why was this so? Why? One, so marriage and procreation. Therefore, we are looking at the importance of what will be brought forth from this marriage, and these are children. So children promoted the social status of their parents. Children promoted the social status of their parents. How? Of their parents. Once children were born, these parents actually climbed in the ladder of status, and they became more respected. Some of them could even become leaders or elders. And when these children grew to a level whereby they were initiated, parents again climbed in status. And if these children actually got married, they even now became elders. Therefore, children at whatever level actually promoted the status of their parent. Children are a bond of unity. Children are a bond of unity. Therefore, if whatever united them before ceased to be, then children remained to unite them. And it did not only unite the parents, but also the families where their parents came from. 3, children are a source of labor. Children are a source of labor. Children are a source of labor, meaning to the family. Of course, labor to the family, not to the society. To the family, meaning they could do some chores in the family and of course assist. 4, children are a source of wealth. How? Children are a source of wealth. For a parent who gave birth to girls, of course these girls could be married off, and bride wealth could bring in wealth to the family. A source of wealth. And 5, when girls are becoming source of wealth, what of the sons? Sons became heirs. Sons became heirs. Sons became heirs of the family, or heirs of to the family wealth. To the family wealth, meaning the family wealth could not be lost because it could be taken over by the sons. And finally, not finally, in fact, parents could be taken care of by their children at old age. So children take care of their parents at old age. At old age. And besides taking care of them at old age, of course they could also give them a decent burial once they die. They could give them a decent burial. It was the duty of the children to ensure that their parents were also given a decent burial. And finally, children were a source of security. Children were source of security. Source of security. What do we mean by source of security? If a family was threatened by an external attack, and this family had many children, these children could act as security to this particular family. And therefore, that is why marriage in a traditional setup was looked at as if it was meant for procreation. Now, although children were so important in a marriage, but still marriage could stand in a traditional setup even without children. So the fact that a woman could not give birth or a man could not sire children did not actually lead to a breakup in marriage. But marriages still stood even without children. What happened? If a woman was barren, then a sister could be brought in to the husband, get married to the husband, or any other woman could be brought to the husband and become a second wife to give birth for that particular family. Meaning polygamy became a solution to that problem. If the husband could also not sire children, then the brother could come in and sire children for the brother. So in a situation where a man was infertile, the wife could beget children for her husband with either a close relative or a brother, and where a woman was barren, the man can get another wife and raise children for her. And therefore, what we are saying is that polygamy is allowed. Polygamy is allowed in a traditional setup, and it is accepted in the community.